for today's cup of coffee, we're going to have the second in this mini series of facing fears. And this one is claustrophobia. And, we're trying to pick some that more people understand and know about. And yesterday, I did go back and change the title to yesterday's if it was off-putting to some. And I should have thought about that. So I went back and put that agoraphobia is basically, trapped in the open.
Uh-huh.
So claustrophobia, and I'm going to read you the American Psychological Association Dictionary of Psychology definition because we all about being precise here.
It's professional.
Professional. Yeah.
There's no professional here.
Not anymore. Anyhow, their definition is a persistent and irrational fear of enclosed spaces, such as elevators, closets, tunnels, or of being confined, such as in an airplane or the back seat of a car. Situations where enclosure or confinement may be encountered are often avoided or else endured with intense anxiety or distress. The focus of fear is typically on panic symptoms triggered in these situations, such as feelings of being unable to breathe, choking, sweating, and fears of losing control or going crazy.
Now, being strapped down in anything can cause claustrophobia. Like even having a seatbelt on can cause some people to have claustrophobia. Straitjackets are a great example of people getting claustrophobia bad.
The 4-point restraints.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, some of the horrific things that people do to other people.
Mm-hmm.
But when I think, and I do have claustrophobia, I do have clinical, technical claustrophobia.
I only have claustrophobia with certain things. Now, if my shoes are on and, they're a little tight or whatever, and, I can't move my pinky toe or whatever, that causes me to panic a little bit. It's what the fuck?
I think that's a little bit spectrum-ish.
I don't know. It's really not.
Really
It's
that's not true claustrophobia. But it's like I said, I do.
Things can cause that, seriously.
Well, it's a similar feeling, but I don't know that it would fall under the category of claustrophobia.
It does. It can.
Okay. Did you ask a therapist if that went into that?
I'm pretty sure.
Now, these videos are not to diagnose or treat, and I do in the description box.
Do not self-diagnose. Go to an actual professional psychologist.
I do put a link in the description boxes of these that is for a national helpline. And if you're in another country, I'm sure that your country probably has something similar. Most countries do. When I think of claustrophobia, and there have been times where I was not allowed to move, which I'm sure that contributed to it. There have been times that I have been in cars, and especially if it's where I can't get out, that will cause panic. It has always triggered thoughts of me, or in me, of being buried alive.
Now that is Now back in the 1800s and before that was an actual thing that could happen. Hell, even the early 1900s.
Absolutely. I mean, the Victorians, some of them actually developed a bail system that if someone was accidentally buried alive. Now, this is before they did all the embalming and stuff that they do now, but to where that they could ring a bell if they came to in their coffin. And the thought of that is just terrifying.
Oh, it's horrifying. Absolutely horrifying.
It's like we had Edgar Allan Poe, and he had written a story as far as, being buried alive. There were several people that have written stories about that because it was prevalent. It was a prevalent thought.
Uh-huh.
That's yeah.
It's spooky shit. It really is.
Right. And that people
Thank God for the technology that we have now and the funeral things, although I don't agree with everything that they do, but as far as making sure the person's dead, they got that down pat.
Sure. And the people who suffered from being catatonic or catatonia, and where they appeared to be dead. And that was the basis of some of those. I don't know how, if that was a prevalent thing or if it was just something that impressed on the imagination of these writers or what, but it just...
No, there is actual documentation of that happening.
Oh, God.
It's like people going into comas for a little bit. Like,
Mm-hmm.
seriously, like that, when people went into comas or whatever for a certain period of time, they thought that they were dead. And they were buried alive.
Well, and that was the whole thing about putting a mirror beneath their nose to see if there was any fog, which would have indicated breath. Stethoscopes were not as accurate. Nothing was as accurate back then, you know. And there is a type of, pulse rate that can be almost non-existent.
Mm-hmm.
And having been in a room where somebody did die, there was still, for a few minutes afterwards, blips on the EKG. And it's like, okay, are they dead? Or are they not dead? Because there's still an occasional blip on the EKG.
It's when you just leave them in there for a little bit and then...
Well, there were other methods of testing things. So that's one of the things I don't know. Childhood is when a lot of these phobias occur.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like, always be cautious, those of you all who have children or around children, as far as confining them. There's that thing in the movie Carrie, where her mother would put her in the closet and force her to repent for something she had not done.
Even in Harry Potter, when they made him stay in the crawl space or whatever.
Absolutely.
Under the stairs.
Yeah. So I would say that he was pretty well claustrophobic on a lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
And so, other than kids' shoes, I don't know that he has that much as far as the claustrophobia.
I don't. Because I can be in a small space and I'll be perfectly fine.
No, I'm not. Mm-mm. There are times that even elevators freak me out.
Oh, see, I don't have a problem with that. The only time elevators freak me out is when they, like, you can feel them move or whatever. That's like, ugh.
Well, and that's one of the things...
Like, I always am scared of the cables breaking in there. That's what I'm mostly scared of. But I know for a fact, like, the likelihood of that happening is not...
How I control a lot of it, I am one of these that a lot of times has avoidance. But if it's like elevators and things like that, you always look for, if something bad happens, how could I get out?
Yeah. I mean, you could get up through the lights.
Right.
There's an emergency stop button, whatever. Sometimes the doors can't open and
Right. So those are things that actually calm me, which is to have a plan of escape.
Mm-hmm.
So that you don't feel mentally trapped. But there's a lot of people that feel trapped and claustrophobic in their bodies. I mean, when you really stop to think about it, what is it? We're spirit trapped in these physical forms.
Yeah, but those people that feel trapped in their own bodies, those are, that's usually a spiritual something. That's like they're still in that spiritual realm to an extent. And It's like, oh God, what have I been in? Why did I choose to come down here?
Right. Well, he's talking about my 56-year existential crisis. To be here and not know why we're here and what we're supposed to do, and it's like, where's the life pack? I'm ready for that.
I heard somewhere that people actually get to see like a little glimpse of how their life is going to be before they even go.
Oh, I know that. I do know that. I do believe that. And I'm thinking, what the hell was I thinking? I raised my hand at the wrong time on this one. Kids looking at me. Other people sitting there going, what were you doing? I've even had an astrologer who's like, what were you thinking? I don't know. But claustrophobia, it is a thing. But by the same right, where we talked about, agoraphobia. Let's try that.
Agoraphobia.
Agoraphobia.
That's
Yesterday,
like she can't say ignose and nausea.
I can't. For years, I have tried to say that.
I English and overall.
I don't know that
like
word's
reading,
English.
It's not, but like overall language and reading, like those are the classes I excelled at, so I was really good with grammar.
So say the word again.
Agnosia.
And that's for people who have severe mental issues and are unaware that they have severe mental issues.
It's more difficult for me to say certain words anyway due to the fact that I have had a speech impediment for years and I still sometimes struggle with it.
Everybody struggles. You just saw me struggle.
Yes, but for me it's more difficult to say certain
but
things.
You
That's
say
why.
It beautifully.
Because I've had to work on it.
I've tried to work on it and it just does not. Mountains speak and that does not work well together.
Like, for example, if I repeat myself, that's usually because I catch myself and I've said something weird the first time, and so I have to say it all over again properly.
Oh, okay. I don't even worry about that. Going back to the claustrophobia and the origins thereof, most phobias do occur in childhood. They can be exacerbated by things that occur as an adult. If you ever were trapped in a room. I actually got trapped in a bathroom.
She did.
Several years ago.
Had to break the door down.
And what was odd, we were in a motel, and it was not one of the best. It was not 5-star, because...
It definitely wasn't a 5-star
anyhow,
motel.
But it wasn't a total, roach motel. We stayed in those too, just because of necessity. But Kid kept saying... He kept fiddling with the door on the bathroom, and he's like, I don't trust this. I'm like, it doesn't matter. Just leave me alone. I have to go to the bathroom. So I closed the door, and it locked. It locked, and the hinges were on the inside. Okay, I didn't even have a cigarette in there.
And there wasn't a gap in the
door
door to slide a cigarette under there.
And I actually had not panicked. Those on the outside had panicked. And I'm like, if you can just get me a cigarette, I'll be all right.
I'll punch a hole in the door and get it handed to you that way.
No. And it's one of those that...
We actually did have to break the door,
absolutely,
though.
and was given permission by the staff at the motel. It's like, yeah, kick the door in.
Yeah.
And so I was extracted from... I don't even think they gave us our rental back, did they?
No.
They should have given us our rental money back. So, but yeah, I didn't panic on that one. There have been times when I have been in a car and people around me were like, no, you can't get out. This is when I was younger. You can't get out. You can't get out. And that, I was freaked. I was sweating. I was just fidgeting, you name it.
Mm-hmm.
And, the agoraphobia and the claustrophobia sort of runs together for me in a store when I've got people that are too close to me.
Yeah.
You've seen that. And it's like, do not get up to where you're stepping on me. That freaks anybody out.
See, my only problem is I don't like to be close to people because I have social anxiety. So
I just feel trapped. I mean, what am I going to do? If I've got a circle of people around me, I'm either going to fight my way through, which is exactly probably what I would do, I mean, if I had to. But it's like, you can't roll underneath them. You can't fly over top of them.
Mm-hmm.
And to explain the same thing over and over, it's like, please don't cluster around me. It's like, that really, it's more than...
Nobody likes people to climb over top of them, basically, like, when they're in an aisle, just trying to get their stuff and get out.
Well, for me, it's more than just uncomfortable. It truly brings on the panicky.
Yeah.
And on the flight, fight, and freeze response, fight is always my go-to. Don't know why, but it is. No, I have never caught an assault charge.
I wonder if cribs actually can cause claustrophobia.
I think it's a matter of how it's designed.
Uh-huh.
And whether or not the child is attended to when they need something. And these pediatricians and flat out idiots that tell people, oh, let the child cry itself to sleep. Yes, let's develop learned helplessness.
Let's develop trauma.
It is trauma.
Let's develop emotional distancing.
Mm-hmm. But I think that, like playpens and stuff like that, baby beds, as long as, like I said, the child, when it becomes distressed for whatever reason, somebody is attentive and quickly attentive. I think it's stupid to put a kid in another room.
I think it is. Until they're old enough to actually stay in the room by themselves and be comfortable with it, they need to be near the parents.
Right, and it's like crying is what the only form of communication that a child has.
Exactly.
Tiny baby.
Exactly.
Now, the tiny babies, they're not claustrophobic because they've been in a very confined space for a minute. So it may be that they have agoraphobia.
Yeah.
Because everything's big, it's cold, it's weird noises, weird sounds, weird smells.
It's all new.
Sure, it's new. So, with the claustrophobia, those of you who may have that, let me know your coping skills, what you do or don't do to deal with the claustrophobia. And we'll do several more on the phobias. Kid is wanting to do, and I can't remember.
Choleraphobia.
Now, the cholera, there is a fear of disease, and that goes into the hypochondria.
No, choleraphobia, I believe, is the fear of clowns.
Somebody had said it was bozophobia, but I think that was a joke, but I called it bozophobia.
It's choleraphobia, I believe. If I'm not mistaken, someone correct me in the comments if I'm incorrect on that. I'm almost 99% sure I'm correct.
We will look that up. Child is just trying to psychoanalyze my...
She hates clowns.
I do.
And I don't get it, because I always loved clowns.
Mm-mm.
If I could have gone to clown college, I probably would have.
No. You would have not been allowed back in the house. It's like, you go wipe that off your face and take off those funny shoes, and then you can come in. So, but anyhow.
I like clowncore. I really do enjoy it.
But we will explore that, or if there are other phobias that you would like us to focus on. I am hoping that the ad will come out this Friday as far as for local people to submit their stories, paranormal and different things like that. Hoping, because there was some kind of a snafu with it.
Yeah.
Planetary alignment, I heard yesterday, has been very similar to Mercury in retrograde.
There was a solar flare recently.
Well, that too. That screws with everybody's nervous systems and stuff.
Electronics and stuff like that.
It does. It does. Websites, satellites, all that stuff. So, we got plans. We got big plans. And you could be part of those big plans. If you've had paranormal or supernatural events, if you've had encounters with UFOs or aliens, cryptid sightings, Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster for those of y'all over there in the UK.
Crackheads.
Well, the meth heads and the crackheads, that ain't even a given. We could just go sit out on the grocery store lot and see all that. If you've had experiences with alternate realities, altered realities with or without substances, or anything else that you'd like to share with us, let us know by sending us an email at cupofcoffeewithscream@gmail.com. And you all have just a beautiful, blessed day.
Send in the clowns.
No.
Get a straight jacket.